Please make your way to your seats. Our program will begin shortly. please take this moment to ensure your mobile device is on silent mode. Thank you for your cooperation. Please make your way to your seats. Our program will begin in 5 minutes. Please be seated. Our program will begin in 1 minute. General Session 2, June 19th, 2025. Call to order.
Hello. I'm the Reverend Meg Riley, one half of your co-moderators. Yeah! And I'm a member of First Universalist Church in Minneapolis, Minnesota, on the land of the Dakota people. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a fat, older white woman with white hair and blue glasses wearing a gray and white striped shirt. On behalf of the Piscataway Indian Nation and their 29th generation hereditary chief, Mark Tayak, we have been invited to read into this space this greeting from Adam Green, emissary of the great Tayak of Piscataway Indian Nation. Welcome. Piscataway Indian Nation is the land of Maryland, Washington, D.C., and parts of Pennsylvania and Virginia. The Unitarian Universalist Association General Assembly is taking place in Baltimore, which is the specific home of the Patapsco Band of Piscataway Indian Nation. On behalf of the nation and our 29th generation hereditary chief, Mark Tayak, we would like to offer the General Assembly welcome. We recognize that the UUA is of one heart with us. We recognize the Statement of Conscience of 2021, in which the association has pledged to enter meaningful friendship and partnership with Indigenous nations upon whose land their congregations sit. In relationship to nations across this land, we would also like to draw your attention to the copper mining, which is threatening Apache stronghold in Oak Flat, Arizona at this very moment. This is a call to action on the part of the association to address that particular issue with your local congresspeople. Thank you, welcome, and may your assembly proceed fruitfully. I now call to order the second general session of the 64th General Assembly of the Unitarian Universalist Association. Finally got to do that. This afternoon's business agenda includes in the following order: open words and chalice lighting, update on the results of yesterday's ballot and the preliminary credentials report, update from the GA care teams, reflection, consent agenda, 10-minute break, discussion on congregational study action issues, commission on social witness admits actions of immediate witness, process observation, closing words and extinguishing the chalice, announcements and recess, and then we'll have a short break before the moderator session. We tried something different this year and had other programming at the same time as general session, so thanks to all of you who are here.
Opening words and chalice lighting. Update on the results of yesterday's ballot and preliminary credentials report.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Simmons, and I serve as your UUA Secretary. I'm a member of Murray Unitarian Universalist Church in Attleboro, Massachusetts, and I use he, him pronouns. I'm a black man with gray hair on the sides, wearing brown-rimmed eyeglasses, and I'm wearing a blue shirt. We have results for adopting the rules of procedures. We have the results of yesterday's General Session 1 ballots. The results for adopting the rules of procedures are: the yes votes are 691, or 99.6%. The no votes are 3, or 0.04%. And so the ballot passes. Total votes were 698, and total abstentions were 4, or 0.06%. Also, we did not meet the threshold to remove the item from the consent agenda. The threshold was 100 delegates. Only 5 people requested to remove the item from the consent agenda. The consent agenda will be a part of tonight's ballot. Thank you.
Update from the GA care teams.
And now we'll receive updates from our GA care teams. Yay!
Happy Juneteenth. I am so honored to be here with all of you. My name is Kim Diana Connolly. I use she, they pronouns. I am a sort of not middle-aged anymore, but mostly middle-aged white woman with brown hair. I wear glasses. I am wearing my trans support t-shirt, and I am wearing a Covenant Team stole. I am a proud member of the UU Amherst congregation in Western New York on the land of the Haudenosaunee. At this GA, I have the honor of serving as the co-lead of your Covenant Team. We, along with all the care teams, including our chaplains, our safety, systemic justice, awesome people, we're in room 331. Come visit us if you need to, if you just want to, or if you want a hug, we're there. I have 3 things to report from the care teams today. First, I can't see anything right now, but I did see a whole bunch of people wearing masks, and we appreciate your commitment to the health policy and to our covenant. I'm actually going to read to you from the safety, and I'm going to read a whole bunch of words because it's important to remind us of the safety and wellness statement at General Assembly. By requiring masking in indoor spaces for GA-sponsored programming at this event, the UUA is going above and beyond the collective recommendations from our advisors and expanding upon the guidance offered in our 2024 Action of Immediate Witness. We do this out of a depth of care for and commitment to our most impacted community during this time of overall risk and trauma. In sharing this GA's guidance, we recognize the need to have a broader conversation in the year ahead that engages all constituencies in discernment of ongoing policies and practices. We commit to taking the time and space to discuss these critical issues in a manner that is in alignment with our values. I will also quote from how our covenant, the covenant that you all signed when you agreed to be here, how it incorporates this policy. The UUA seeks to maximize accessibility, inclusion, and radical welcome for all who wish to participate in General Assembly. Those who will attend in person are expected to be vigilant in self-care and health monitoring and respectful of the most vulnerable in our community. So here's the upshot. Wear your masks in all group spaces, including the exhibit hall. Please remind others if you see that they've forgotten. Sometimes we have a drink of water and then we just forget. So please remind others. Let's model radical welcome and depth of care for our community. Second, at GA, we have quite a lot of online spaces as well as in-person spaces that we are talking, sometimes that's writing talking, and we are in communicating together. As we communicate, we implore everyone to communicate with care and respect in line with our covenant. This is especially important when we are navigating topics that may be sensitive or painful for some beloved members of our community, including trans-related issues and a number of others. These are challenging times for many, many of our beloveds. Please remember, all of us, including those affected communities, that we may hold differing opinions, shockingly. And this makes it all the more important to be thoughtful in how you express your opinions when you are talking or writing. Choose words that honor our shared humanity and help create spaces of compassion, even when conversations are hard. And third, unfortunately, we have reports that ICE has not only a facility nearby, but that ICE vehicles have been seen outside the convention center. If this concerns you, feel free to find a member of the safety team or other members of the care teams. And we suggest that to mitigate risk, one can use sky bridges to exit the building, either through the Hilton or through the Marriott, but you'd have to cross the street. But if you need help with that, come find one of us. Blessings for the rest of your day.
Thank you so much. And now we will have a reflection from the wonderful Reverend Meg Barnhouse.
Reflection.
I'm Reverend Meg Barnhouse, Minister Emerita of the First UU Church of Austin, Texas. I'm a woman in my late 60s, wearing a red shirt, and I am in treatment for cancer, so I have no hair. As my life shrinks, as I get sicker, I realize that loving my family and friends is my top priority now, and I want to live as long as I can love them. And being a support to my wife, Kaya, is of utmost importance. Learning to love and be loved by them is easy, and I understand exactly what that's all about. Loving and being loved is what life is about to me now. I learned something else the other day about centering love, which I am trying to do. It occurred to me in the infusion center that I should try to center love there. And so there was a white lady who was sitting with her husband a couple of chairs down, and I was going to center love starting with her. So I said, "How are you holding up?" And she said, "Fine." Told me a little bit about her husband, and that was over. Then she comes over to me and says, "What kind of cancer are you dealing with?" And I said, "Terminal breast cancer." And she went, "Oh," like we all do. So then she looked at me and said, "God told me to come over here and ask you if your name is written in the Lamb's Book of Life." And I said, "The Lamb's Book of Life?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "I'm not a Christian, if that's what you're asking me." "Oh," she said, "well, you need to ask God's forgiveness and invite Jesus into your life and become a Christian. I don't want you to go to hell when you die." I said, "Well, don't worry about me, because the book of Timothy says that women are saved through childbearing. So I've had 2 sons. I'm okay." She said, "No, that's not what you need to do." And I said, "No, and I'm not going to hell because there is no hell." "Yes, there is," she said. "No, there's not." I said, "Yes, there is." She said, "No, there's not." I said, "Yes, there is." "No, there's not." I said, "We're just going to have to agree to disagree." She said, we're going to have to agree. And I said, no. What I learned from this is that in centering love, I need to include myself in the center and center love on myself so that I don't spend my wild and precious life, the rest of it, in fruitless theological arguments. And I have to say, that was one of the least intellectual theological arguments I've ever had. At the end, she asked if she could pray for me. And I said, okay, a short one. And so I made a plan that the next time someone asked me if they could pray for me, I would say, sure, as long as I can also say a spell for you from my religion. That feels like centering love to me. It makes me smile every time I think about it.
Consent agenda.
Hello. My name is Charles Dumond. Along with the Reverend Meg Riley, I'm one of your co-moderators of the UUA. I'm a member of the Unitarian Universalist of San Mateo, California, on the land of the Ramaytush Ohlone people. And I am also a member of the Church of the Larger Fellowship. My pronouns are he and him. I'm an older white man with gray hair, a gray beard, a gray mustache. I'm wearing a beige pinstripe button-down shirt. The company described the shirt color as birch. A dark suit and some bright red reading glasses. Our first item of business after approval of the rules of procedure is the consent agenda, which allows for the quick approval of non-controversial items. And John has already told you. There is one item on the consent agenda. It's a bylaw change to clean up and make some technical corrections. We consider this a non-controversial item. No amendments were submitted for this item, and the discussion on discuss.uua.org has not been controversial. From approximately 9 a.m. to 12:30 Eastern Time, there has been a form on the delegate platform that allowed delegates to indicate if they objected to the use of the consent agenda. And as of 12:30 p.m., only 5 delegates objected. And if it was less than 100, that meant we could go forward with the consent agenda. So thank you very much. We've tried to do a consent agenda many times. Congratulations, we're going to do it. The consent agenda requires a 2/3 majority vote to pass. If the consent agenda does not pass, all items on the consent agenda go back to their original place on the final agenda, which is in Saturday's general session.
Oh, that's me. Good afternoon, General Assembly. My name is Dr. Baker Purdon. I use he, they pronouns, and I am, although seated, a tall white man with black hair and clear frame glasses.
And I am the Reverend Amy Carol Webb. I use she, they pronouns, and I am a white woman with shoulder-length, gray, curly hair and glasses.
As we welcome you back from this brief break, we are excited to share with you one of our newly selected hymns from our brand new virtual hymnal, Sing Out Love.
We are so excited for you all to interact with the incredible new collection of music. In addition to exploring the Hoover app and visiting us in the exhibit hall throughout General Assembly, please plan to join us for Sunday morning's Sing Out Love hymn sing at 9:30 a.m. upstairs at the 400 level in ballrooms 1 and 2.
It will be an incredible time to experience many new songs that you and your congregations will love. Right now, we're going to share one of those songs with you. This is Love at the Center by Emily Joy Goldberg from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Love is at the center. At the center there is love. Love is at the center. At the center there is love. I believe in the power of giving. I believe in the power of change. I believe in the power of differences. I believe in love.
Let's go.
Love is at the center. At the center there is love. Love is at the center. At the center there is love. I believe in the power of justice. I believe in the power of fairness. I believe in the web of life. I believe in love. Love is at the center. At the center there is love. Love is at the center. At the center there is love. Last time. Love is at the center. At the center there is love. Love is at the center. At the center there is love.
Discussion and vote on congregational study action issues.
Let's welcome the members of the Commission on Social Witness to the stage.
Good afternoon. Somehow our schedule got messed up, and so I told everyone to be here an hour from now. So hopefully the other commissioners will show up shortly. Is Sharon here? Here we go, right behind me. It's my honor to introduce the members of the Commission on Social Witness. I'm the Reverend Nancy Reed McKee, the CSW chair, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm an organizer with the Justice Washington State Action Network, and I'm an older, white-bodied woman with short brown hair. Today I'm wearing sort of a green jacket. Other members of the CSW are the Reverend Dr. Isabel Call, serving the UU Fellowship of Manhattan, Kansas, and here she comes. Woo! Also with us is the Reverend Dr. Cynthia Landrum, serving the First Parish Church of Stowe and Acton, and here they are. Also on the commission is Antoinette Scully of the First Unitarian of Los Angeles and the UU Women's Federation, and Dr. Sharon Welch, former provost and professor at the Meadville Lombard Theological School. The Commission on Social Witness members are elected by the Assembly or appointed by the UUA Board. We complement the work of the UUA, which has expert leadership in our national justice programs such as the Side with Love and the UU Service Committee. The CSW brings the concerns, issues, and proposals from grassroots UUs across the nation to support local efforts so that we can have a greater impact. We do this through two processes: actions of immediate witness proposals brought to this assembly by delegates across the UU world address areas that require immediate attention, urging collective action from our congregations. Congregational Study Action Issues, also called CSAIs, address issues requiring study and involvement from congregations over 3 years and are then adopted as UUA statements of conscience that guide the work of this faith into our future. This is our prophetic work. This is the time during the General Assembly that we declare what is important and worthy of our collective efforts. Today, you will hear 3 proposed CSAIs, and you will be asked to vote on one that you will take back to your congregations to discuss, research, and engage in for the next 2 years before adopting one as the UUA Statement of Conscience. That vote happens today after this business session. After the CSAIs, you will hear from 3 proposed actions of immediate witness. Today, you'll be asked to vote to admit these to the agenda for consideration, and the vote on whether to adopt them is after Saturday's General Assembly. We urge all of you to discuss the proposals and participate in this process. We can change the world when we organize our collective efforts. So now I welcome you to this important time of attending to our justice work at the GA. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we are going to discuss the 3 congregational study action items. We'll alternate pro and con, and after the discussion, your ballot will ask you today to choose one of those 3 for continued study. The bylaws and rules of procedure provide the following guidance with respect to the vote. If no proposed congregational study action item receives a majority of the votes cast, then a second vote shall be taken between the 2 issues receiving the highest number of votes cast in the initial election. So if that happens, the top 2 will be on the ballot tomorrow. We won't have any additional discussion, we'll just have another vote. Please keep these process goals in mind. Decisions are based on the will of the majority in accordance with UU values and principles. Delegates have the chance to express a range of opinions as part of the decision-making process. Delegates know how they can participate in business discussions and voting at General Assembly in a respectful, transparent, and inclusive way. Business discussions are predictable to be accessible and move smoothly to make the best use of everyone's time. Please keep these qualities of a UU-centered discussion in mind. Please be respectful. Please do not use contemptuous language. Please speak to persuade rather than offend. Please center our shared values and identify one or more values in your words. We also ask you to practice self-care. If you know the discussion is likely to cause you pain, then please excuse yourself. Remember, you don't have to hear the discussion to vote. Your ballot will be available to you at the end of the session. I understand that the hurt can be more painful in a UU space. We expect one another to pay attention to the impact our words have. We expect this to be a safer place than our broader society, and sometimes it isn't. Let's try to keep love at the center as we discuss things with one another. If you have a question about the process or procedures we are using, please contact the information desk. So I think in the hall it's here, it's also online. At the information desk, we have our UUA Executive Vice President, Carrie McDonald, and our legal advisor and parliamentarian, Adrian Walker. Our first CSAI is Fat Liberation, Building Justice and Inclusion for Larger Bodies. We will pause for a couple minutes while people get in line to speak. During this time, please chat with your neighbor, online or on site, about this proposed CSAI. So we're going to wait a couple minutes, give people both online and in the room the opportunity to get into the speaker queue, and then we will have the discussion. Thank you. Since this is the first discussion of the year, it's taking us a little bit of time just to get things set up. Have one person? Just one? Huh? There's really just one person? All right. I was asked to tell you where the text is. It's in the PDF of your, it's in a couple places. You can find it on the CSW page. You can find it in the book for the PDF book for the GA. You can also find it on discuss.uua.org, and you can see some of the discussion that's already occurred. Okay. So, the rules provide for 40 minutes to discuss these three CSAIs. So we have about 14 minutes for each one of them. So please set the discussion timer for 14 minutes. And last year, the speaker time was limited to 90 seconds. This year, we have increased the time to 2 minutes, and we expect you to provide your name, congregation, pronouns, and physical description within that time. And we expect you to do those things, and we might pause you and remind you to do that. So please do that as part of the 2 minutes. So I recognize the sponsor of this CSAI, which is Jamie Johnson, PhD, MDiv, and please set the speaker timer for 2 minutes. Thank you. You may begin, Jamie.
Hello. I am Reverend Dr. Jamie Johnson, pronouns she, her. I'm from the Unitarian Society of New Haven. I'm a fat, white, cis lesbian with short, wavy, dark hair and dark glasses, and I'm wearing purple today. Beloveds, we must confront a truth that too often goes unspoken in our sanctuaries and society. Across this country, fat people are treated as less than in hospitals, in schools, in workplaces, and yes, even in our UU congregations, where ministers and members are subject to health trolling and appearance criticism. The harm is not only from well-meaning comments, but from systemic injustice. It is routine for fat patients to be misdiagnosed or ignored by healthcare professionals. Many hospitals do not have enough plus-size equipment for fat people, which endangers patients and staff. It is legal in 49 states to fire someone for being fat. Fat people are charged more, hired less, and treated worse. Anti-fat bias has a long, tangled history in the United States, rooted in Puritan moralism and sharpened by racism, sexism, and classism. Scholar Sabrina Strings reminds us that in the 19th century, fatness was falsely tied to blackness and inferiority and used to promote thin white people as morally superior and the ideal Americans. This isn't about health, it's about power. It's about white supremacy culture, patriarchy, and capitalism defining whose bodies are valuable and whose are disposable. We ask for your support for fat liberation. This is what love looks like in action. This is what justice requires of us. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no one in the con line, so we'll hear from one more pro speaker, the Reverend Ian W. Riddle. Please set the speaker timer for 2 minutes.
Hello. Hello, I am the Reverend Ian Riddell. I'm the minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Desert in Rancho Mirage, California. I'm a middle-aged, fat, white, cisgendered gay man with graying brown hair and a full beard and mustache. I have large, round, dark blue-rimmed glasses, and I'm wearing a dark blue and light patterned collared shirt. As one of the proposers of this CSAI, I want to highlight that while, as Jamie said, this is a systemic issue in our wider culture, we Unitarian Universalists are also not immune to mistreating fat people in our congregations, individually and collectively. I carry with me my own experiences of having my health and appearance questioned and interrogated, of receiving harmful comments and concerns, of having people express their discomfort with my body out loud and to other colleagues as a problem. And I carry with me the experiences and stories of friends and colleagues and congregants who have these experiences all too often. Every fat person I've talked to in our UU congregations and institutions has these experiences. These experiences are widespread and pervasive, affecting ministers, staff, volunteers, guests, and congregants. You may never have been told about these experiences, or you didn't see them when they were happening. In so many ways, fat people are living in a reality different from the one that people who are not fat live in. We invite you to hear us, to hear our stories, to center love and choose to fight fat injustice. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no other speakers in the queue, so that will conclude our discussion of the first CSAI. So thank you for that discussion. Our second CSAI is Abolition, Transformation, and Faith Formation. We will again pause for a couple of minutes while people get in line to speak. During this time, please chat with your neighbor online or on site about this proposed CSAI. Thank you. All right, welcome back. We have 14 minutes for this discussion as well, so the discussion timer is set for 14 minutes. The sponsor of the CSIA is Aisha Hauser. Aisha Hauser is recognized for 2 minutes. Please set the speaker timer for 2 minutes. Thank you.
I'm Aisha Hauser. I'm a brown woman with curly hair that is black and gray, and I'm wearing glasses and a keffiyeh and a bright yellow shirt. We are inviting you to lean into developing an understanding that prisons predicated on a punitive system hurts us all in ways we aren't aware of. The more I learn about how the for-profit industrial complex developed and grew, the more I am committed to transforming society into one that would find horrific the idea of any profit being made off of caging human beings. There is no way to make an unjust system have any integrity. A system that deems those entangled in the carceral system less worthy of care is one not worth maintaining, and one that perpetuates oppression in all its forms. As Unitarian Universalists, we affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every human being, no exceptions. No one is disposable, and it is imperative that we lean into the ways we can transform U.S. society into one that centers community care. If you read that and thought that's unrealistic, I invite you to ask yourself why. Why is the carceral system realistic? Why is withholding basic human necessities from people realistic? Why is it realistic to know how many people go hungry and do nothing about it, especially in a country that has more wealth than it knows what to do with? I invite you to expand your imagination beyond what we understand to be realistic. The passage of this CSI would give us the opportunity as Unitarian Universalists to lean into this learning about what it means to live out our faith in a world through abolition. Join us, beloveds.
Thank you. I have no speakers in the con line, so we'll hear from another pro speaker, Nick Sanchez on the online pro line. Please set the speaker timer for 2 minutes.
Hello, friends. My name is Nick Sanchez. I'm a light-skinned Latino man with a bald head, large black beard, black glasses, and a yellow t-shirt that says, my UU faith demands abolition. Because it does. Abolition is not a buzzword or a trend. It is the next faithful step in our living tradition that centers love, that affirms the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Abolition is deeply intersectional. It names how our punitive systems of oppression, especially the prison industrial complex, harm people at the intersections of race, class, disability, gender identity, mental health, and immigration status. It sees how Black, Latine, and Indigenous people are disproportionately targeted, how poverty is criminalized, how people in mental health crisis are met with force instead of care. It asks us to stop punishing survivors, to stop locking up trans people in solitary confinement, to stop separating immigrant families and calling it justice. To be clear, abolition isn't just about tearing down. It's about building up, building restorative systems that respond to harm with accountability and not cycles of violence. This is the work that our values demand of us, to transform systems of harm into systems of hope. By letting these oppressive systems of punishment persist, we have done an injustice to all, but especially to those of us with marginalized identities. Many outside our congregations already long for abolition and intersectional justice, but they don't know where to begin. We as a faith are uniquely positioned to show them how. We already have the tools, the curricula, the podcasts, the rituals, the lived experience from those who have survived incarceration. What we need now is collective will. We must embrace that our faith is about building the systems that embody love. Thank you.
Thank you. We still do not have any speakers in the con line, and it has been our habit to not just continue on and on and on with the speakers for just one side of a discussion. So I think what we'll do is we'll do one more pro speaker and invite the remaining pro speakers to go post their statements on discuss.uua.org. So we want to preserve some time for the moderator forum at the end of this session. So I'll invite Reverend Omega Buckhart on site to be our last pro speaker at this time. Thank you.
I'm the Reverend Dr. Omega Burkhart, and I'm the Senior Minister of Neighborhood Unitarian Universalist Church in Pasadena, California, in Los Angeles County, the traditional lands of the Gabrielino Tongva peoples. I'm a white femme woman with silvering hair with a pink stripe and facial jewelry. Today I'm wearing a green dress. My pronouns are she and ella in Espanol. As we center love and transformation and justice in our communities and practices of sacred faith formation, abolition means investigating, disrupting, changing, and abolishing systems that were created purposely to benefit some at the expense of others. We often say in common parlance, especially these days, that the system is broken. These systems are not broken. Dear ones, they are functioning exactly as they were designed to do. The school to prison pipeline, bail bonds, contracting Proud Boys to serve as ICE agents, and the militarization on our streets, these are systems that create and abuse power and lately create and abuse chaos to wear down opposition. We will not be worn down. By adopting an abolitionist lens, we commit to dismantling these systems that disproportionately affect people of the world majority that have been historically, purposefully marginalized in this country: the poor, immigrants, people of color, and others. Especially today, as we honor and celebrate Juneteenth, I urge those of you for whom your identity has not been a barrier in your life to support this study action. As Leela Singha said yesterday in the Berry Street essay, at some point we have to say the damn thing and then do it.
Thank you. All right, so that's going to conclude the discussion of our second CSAI. And again, people are invited to post additional comments on the discuss.uua.org site, and you're invited to go and look at it to see all the comments that have been made. All right, so now let me introduce Sam Trumbore, the Reverend Sam Trumbore, member of the board and part of the Mod Squad, who's going to facilitate the discussion of our third CSAI.
Our third CSI is housing, diversity, equity, and inclusion. We will pause for a few minutes while people get in line to speak. During this time, please, again, chat with your neighbor online or on site about this proposed CSAI. Where's the time? right, if you can bring your conversations to a close. I neglected to talk about my appearance. I am a almost into old age person with graying hair, clean shaven, and I have glasses, but I also have an attractive Hawaiian shirt that is of bamboo. I'd like to, we have this timer set for 14 minutes, and I'd like to recognize the sponsor of this CSAI, Reverend Robert Murphy at the pro microphone.
Hi, I'm Bob Murphy, Minister Emeritus, Tarpon Springs, Florida, on the Gulf of Mexico. I'm an old man with a green shirt, and he, him, his. And this is the traditional land of the Tocobaga people and the Seminole and other tribes. I'm speaking on behalf of housing justice, and this is a statement, a call for action that is very easy to understand, because we want all people, all places to have access to safe housing that is affordable, sustainable, and acceptable to the residents. And it's as simple as that. Safe housing, all people. We want it to be affordable, acceptable, safe, sustainable. We want it to be attractive. There are many people now being abused in the housing market, in large part because of the government of Donald Trump and the government of a Republican-led Congress. We're talking about people who are being criminalized or abused because they are homeless, because they're trans people, immigrants without the proper papers. We're talking about people, many of the Native Americans, many African Americans and others who've long been abused because of race. Vote yes for housing justice, for fair housing. Vote yes in support of this statement. And come join us with in a revolution that starts now. Join a revolution and a resistance movement that will do some good in every community. This is something your congregation can support, and I hope every congregation does support this measure. Vote yes for housing justice. Thank you very much. Namaste.
All right, thank you. We'll next go to the online pro microphone, which we have Dick Burkhart.
Am I on?
Yes, you are.
Okay. My name is Dick Burkhart. I'm a delegate for the from the Spokane UU Church, but also a member of the Saltwater UU Church near Seattle. And I'm an aging man with wearing a blue multiracial unity t-shirt. This CSAI correctly identifies the lack of affordable housing as a key problem in the United States, nationwide. Yet this affordability crisis plays out in different ways in different localities across the US and is far more widespread than this CSAI's DEI label would suggest. For example, households may struggle not just with discrimination, but also debt, disability, or addictions, or plain old inflation. The deeper issues come from housing policies that subsidize the more affluent or upwardly mobile through zoning, taxes, interest rates, and the like. This has made housing a key part of speculative Wall Street finance. Just think about the 2008 subprime bubble. Meanwhile, a shortage of subsidies for lower income households has left much of the working class behind, living paycheck to paycheck. Predictably, many fall into homelessness when their luck runs out. Churches could take this CSAI as a springboard for more broad-based action, education, and advocacy that is appropriate for their communities. For example, I served on a city advisory committee for our neighborhood Tiny House Village for many years. Also on my state Sierra Club Transportation and Land Use Committee. In addition, my wife and I helped found and lead a neighborhood group that backed highly successful transit-oriented development around our new light rail station, including a healthy balance of subsidized, affordable, and market rate housing. You could do the same.
Thank you. I've been asked to let people know that there are assisted listening devices over at the tech table. So if anybody needs anything, the accessibility group wants you to know that those are over there. So thank you.
The next person in our pro queue is Imari Kariotis. Please set the timer for 2 minutes. And we need sound.
I'm from Imperial County. I am wearing a black hat with feathers and buttons and a Juneteenth flag. I have a rainbow stole on, black shirt with a silver and black stones.
Much better.
UU congregations are rising with courage and clarity to meet a moral imperative: safe, affordable, and sustainable housing for all. At the heart of our covenant is love, and love demands that we shelter one another both from literal storms that batter our communities and the systematic storms that displace our neighborhoods. As the federal housing support recedes and the need grows urgently, we look to our faith and to our history for guidance. From the Underground Railroad to the sanctuary networks and disaster response efforts, UUs have constantly showed up. Now we are asking once again for not charity alone, but with deep, enduring solidarity. This CSI isn't about buildings, it's about belonging. And it's about undoing the harm in communities scarred by redlining, by forced removals, by climate threats that follow the paths of injustice. It's about building coalitions across race, class, ability, and age, and fueling actions through Housing Justice Task Force, mutual aid, resistance centers, and interfaith partnership. We affirm a radical truth: housing is health, housing is sanctuary, housing is hope. Dr. Martin Luther King in this moment calls for moral revolution. Let us be its spark, lit by love and steady in our resolve that no one is left behind. Please support the CSAI. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And consistent with our last round, we'll recognize one more pro speaker on the online. Was that?
Was that our third one?
No, that was our second, I think. We recognize one more, Denise Moorhead. And we'll hopefully get the sound.
I needed to unmute myself. I'm very sorry. Denise Moorhead. I am. I've been involved with UU Class Conversations for more than 10 years. It's an organization that raises class awareness. We help folks confront classism and promote class inclusion in UU different spaces throughout the communities. It's from this vantage point that I encourage you to vote for the CSAI, Housing Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Recently, I heard somebody talk about a group of roommates on the West Coast. They were young doctors, lawyers, MBAs, and they're living together because the rent in their city tops out at more than $10,000 a month. So you can imagine what finding safe, clean, affordable housing is like for everyone else. I'm sure you experienced it yourself. So according to the National Low-Income Housing Coalition, there's a shortage of more than 7 million affordable homes for our nation's 10.8 million plus extremely low-income families. A lot of these people have multiple low-wage, non-benefit jobs, and obviously it's leading to homelessness for far too many. And this is true of every region, not just the West Coast. There are Americans certainly with more privilege, people who are working class, middle class. They're finding it increasingly difficult to manage rising housing costs as well, unless of course their class privilege has provided a home passed down. But even then, somebody near my mother, they lost their home because utilities and taxes when they inherited a home, it just was too much for them to handle. So I'm hoping that you will vote for this CSAI. And I did want to, in the last couple of the last few moments, let you know that Eli Poor, one of our UUCC steering committee members, had pulled together something. I don't think there's going to be time to be able to read it all, but this is a person who has been working on unhoused issues for many years. For the past 8 years, Eli's been involved in ongoing street ministry and community development projects for poor and unhoused people.
All right,
And
thank
Eli
you.
just wanted folks to know that housing is not just a policy issue, it's a moral and spiritual imperative.
Yes, thank you. Thank you
Eli
very
was
much.
unhoused as a young person and wants you to know that also being trans, also being formerly incarcerated, this is too important of an issue for us as UUs not to get
Thank
on
you.
board with and help to move the needle.
Thank you very much. Thank you. This concludes our discussion of our third CSAI. Your vote to choose one and only one of these CSAIs for further study will be on today's ballot.
Right, and I want to acknowledge that it's been a long time since we've done this CSAI process, and we'll try and take a lesson from this, that it's likely to be a lot of pro speakers and not a lot of cons, and how we do it next time will be different. I apologize for people who didn't get a chance to speak. Again, there's a place to post your comments that you were going to make on discuss.ua.org.
Commission on Social Witness admits actions of immediate witness.
The Commission on Social Witness and you, the delegates, have selected 3 actions of immediate witness to be considered at this General Assembly. Our bylaws require that they first be admitted to the agenda, and that requires a vote of the delegates. The sponsor is given 2 minutes and 45 seconds to present the AIW, and then you will vote to determine if it gets admitted to the agenda. Those that are admitted will be discussed during Saturday's general session. And now I will introduce this year's AIWs. I now recognize Fred Van Duysen to introduce their AIW, Faithful Defiance of Authoritarianism, Reaffirming Our Covenants for Democracy and Freedom. Please put 2 minutes and 45 seconds on the speaker timer, and this is a video. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Fred Van Duysen, and I'm a mature, light-skinned male with gray hair and a striped shirt. I'm a member of First Parish in Concord, Massachusetts, and the co-convener of the Democracy Action Team at Unitarian Universalist for Social Justice, UUSJ. UUSJ facilitates federal advocacy, engagement, and witness for individual UUs and their congregations, often in partnership with UU State Action Networks, other UU organizations, interfaith groups, and coalitions. Together with members of the UUSJ Democracy Action Team, I want to share with you our action of immediate witness, Faithful Defiance of Authoritarianism, a call to action, reaffirming our covenants for democracy and freedom. For the past 6 months, we've all witnessed an authoritarian attack on our democracy, on our most basic rights and freedoms, on all of our UU values, an attack unlike any we've seen before in our lifetimes. This is no ordinary moment. It's a time similar to periods in the past when previous generations fought courageously to end slavery, achieve women's suffrage, and to stop fascism. Now is not a time to throw up our hands and say, but what can I do? It's a time to mobilize our faith, to contribute to building a powerful movement that can overcome this authoritarian attack. And we can do it. This AIW calls for us to work together at all levels, as an association, as state action networks, as congregations, in teams and as individuals, united in purpose and eager to act. It's a pledge to begin to sustain the needed work as a faith tradition, as a collective of citizens and residents that are part of a much broader pro-democracy movement. Many of you are already deeply engaged in this work, often with the help of UUA's Side with Love or the UU Democracy Leaders community that UUSJ has organized. Thank you for the work you have done. and the work you will do. We need to build on that effort and help grow a more powerful national movement. All of our congregations need to be engaged in this effort. A small group of even a few people can have a significant impact on mobilizing a congregation, a community. We need to do this. Future generations, including our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, need us to do this. The 7 generations that come after them need us to do this. We can't fail them. Please join us in this work now. Thank you.
Thank you. I now recognize Steve Ekstrand to introduce their AIW. We declare and affirm immigrants are people who have inherent worth and inalienable rights. Please put 2 minutes and 45 seconds on the speaker timer. Thank you.
My name is Steve Ekstrand. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a mid-70s white man with mostly white hair, and I'm wearing a blue shirt. I'm a member of the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Rockville, Maryland, which is on the ancestral homelands of the Piscataway Conoy people. As Unitarian Universalists, we affirm the inherent worth and dignity of all people, including immigrants, and insist that they be treated with love, compassion, and justice. Therefore, we oppose policies that deny immigrants their basic human rights, especially the right to due process, which is protected under the U.S. Constitution and international law. We are living in a time of crisis, a time of increasing division and rising authoritarianism in our nation. Immigration is the first policy arena that the U.S. government has chosen as to test the extent to which we, the people, are willing to look the other way as it escalates its use of authoritarian and autocratic measures to carry out its agenda. In just the past few weeks, we have witnessed the arrest of a Milwaukee County Circuit Court judge, the deployment of National Guard and active duty Marines in Los Angeles to respond to protests and to assist ICE, mass roundups in major cities throughout the country, including deportation of immigrants to maximum security prisons in El Salvador. The principle of due process is at the heart of the American legal system. For immigrants, due process is not merely a legal technicality. It is a safeguard against arbitrary and capricious actions by the government. Immigrants often face complex immigration proceedings where the decisions can mean separation from family, loss of livelihood, and even displacement from communities where they have lived and established their homes for years. Ensuring that they receive a fair hearing will protect them from wrongful deportations and abuse of power. It will also preserve the integrity and moral authority of the legal system. This AIW provides a variety of personal and congregational actions that we can take. Let us not be bystanders to injustice. Let us bend the arc of history toward justice. Thank you.
I now recognize Keola Whitaker to introduce their AIW, Defending LGBTIQ Freedom Amid Funding Crisis, a call for global solidarity. Please put 2 minutes and 45 seconds on the speaker timer. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Keola Whitaker. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a delegate from the historic First Unitarian Church of Los Angeles, which will be celebrating its 150th anniversary on March 7th, 2027. You're all invited to the party. I have brown hair, brown eyes, light skin, and eyebrows that don't quit. I'm wearing a light blue shirt. Delegates, I grew up a Southern Baptist. Last week, the Southern Baptist Convention made national headlines by endorsing the rollback of LGBTQ rights. When I read that, I wasn't just disappointed, I was devastated. I was reminded of the shame I was taught, the silence I was forced into, and the parts of myself I was told not to love. But we can make our own headlines. We can say with clarity and courage, no more. No more erasing queer lives from policy. No more cutting funds that keep people safe. No more pretending this is somebody else's fight. Over $100 million in international LGBTQ funding has been slashed just this year. That's nearly 40% of all support. Programs have been shut down, shelters have been closed, legal aid, health services, suicide prevention, they're all vanishing. And it was announced just yesterday by the Trevor Project that this administration is shutting down the LGBTQ youth suicide helpline in 30 days. This isn't just a budget crisis, it's a human crisis. This action of immediate witness is not just a statement, it's a promise. A promise to educate, to organize, to fund, to advocate, to stand with our global LGBTQI siblings and say, you are not alone. So I ask you, what headline do you want to write with your vote? Let's say Unitarian Universalists take a stand for LGBTQ rights. Our faith community responds to anti-queer backlash with bold action. At General Assembly, you choose solidarity over silence. Let's vote yes, let's put this on the agenda, and let's make it unmistakably clear that we will not back down, we will not be silent, and the center of our faith is love, and we will not let love be erased. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's take a moment to thank the CSW and all the proposers of CSAIs and the AIWs for all of their work. Please remember that your votes will open at the end of this general session and that you're voting to put these AIWs on the final agenda for a discussion and a subsequent vote. Now we're going to hear from the GA Covenant team with some updates.
Hello again, everyone. I'm here to provide a clarification about the earlier announcement about ICE. Please note that the UUA was aware when contracting with the Baltimore Convention Center that this place is located near a federal office building that contains an Immigration and Customs Enforcement field office. So due to our proximity to this field office, we have observed, and you may observe, federal law enforcement vehicles, some marked as ICE vehicles, passing or even parked near the convention center. Let me be clear, we do not know of ICE activity, have not heard of ICE activity in this area this week. Nevertheless, if you feel at risk, please reach out to a safety team member who's wearing a stole like this, only theirs are orange. You can also use the sky bridges if you feel at risk to exit the convention center, as I said earlier, to the Hilton or to the Marriott, and there you will have to cross the sidewalk. Please note that the General Assembly meeting rooms are private spaces. Federal law enforcement cannot enter them, cannot access them without warrants signed by federal judges that have the individuals' names on them. So these are private spaces. But the whole convention center is not private, just our General Assembly rooms. If you observe ICE activity, please contact the GA safety team. They will share documentation with local ICE Watch networks. Thank you.
And now we're going to hear from our process observation team. Thank you.
My name is Chris Chappelle, and I am a member of your Board of Trustees and serve as co-financial advisor. I am a member of Wellsprings Congregation in Chester Springs, Pennsylvania. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a white woman in my early 50s with chin-length brown hair with just a touch of gray, and I'm wearing a turquoise short-sleeved blazer and a black shirt. I am honored to be serving as part of the process observer team for this general session during GA. We understand that there was a miscommunication regarding the timing of the discussion of the CSAIs, which may have led to some who planned to queue for the pro and con lines to not be present to do so. The board sincerely apologizes for this and reminds all that discuss.uua.org is available for further comment on all 3 of the CSAIs. Also, we want to acknowledge that there was inadvertent, inconsistent application of the number of pro speakers permitted across each of the CSAIs, and we'll note that for future discussions. Again, we remind everyone that discuss.uua.org is available for further comment on all 3 of the CSAIs. We observed during the discussion of the congregational study action issues that this discussion flowed well with appropriate access for both those on site and online. Participants in the discussion honored the General Assembly Participation Covenant to conduct ourselves in a courteous manner with concern and respect for all, as co-moderator Charles Dumont outlined in his opening remarks prior to the discussion. Thank you all.
Closing words and extinguishing of chalice.
Hello, my name is David Stewart, and I am the co-financial advisor for the UUA. I'm a member of the UU Congregation of Atlanta, which resides on the land of the Muskogee Nation. I am a bald, cis, straight white man with a blue floral shirt and a silver jacket. These are our closing words for the second session of the 2025 General Assembly. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of love, the very heart of our shared faith, the ever-evolving miracle of this living tradition.
The ballot will be available until 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Mountain, 6 a.m. Pacific Time tomorrow. Today's ballot includes the consent agenda, a choice for congregational study action item, 3 votes to admit actions of immediate witness to the final agenda. Once voting is complete, we'll validate the results and then post them on the delegate platform, and also announce them at the beginning of General Session 3. As there being no further business to come before us, and in accordance with the schedule set forth in your program books, I declare that this second general session of the General Assembly of 2025 shall remain in recess until 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific tomorrow. Please remain here for the Moderator Candidates Forum that will begin as soon as they reset the stage. Thank you.
One, two, three.
I'm following my nose, the path appears as we walk it. We'll know which way to go, can't go too far wrong. I mean, look at all this. Look at all this, what what a gift, what a gift. The world is a miracle. I wanna fall back in love with. This is a prayer. If you're there, if you're there, could I find more of this? The waves carry me in, salt water on my skin. I'm coming home. Close my eyes while you drive. Sometimes it's just time to go. Look at all this, what a gift, what a gift. The world is a miracle. I wanna fall back in love with. This is a prayer. If you're there, if you're there, could I find more of this? It's the road, it's the sky, it's that look in your eyes, it's the touch, it's the kiss, it's the pocket of lint, it's the scrape on your knee, it's the knock on the door, it's the no, it's the yes, it's the kid in the store, it's the road, it's the sky, it's that look in your eyes, it's the touch, it's the kiss, it's the pocket of lint, it's the scrape on your knee, it's the knock on the door, it's the no, it's the yes, it's the kid in the store, it's the road, it's the sky, it's that look in your eyes, it's the touch, it's the kiss, it's the pocket of lint, it's the scrape on your knee, it's the knock on the door, it's the no, it's the yes, it's the kid in the store, it's the road, it's the sky, it's that look in your eyes, it's the touch, it's the kiss, it's the pocket of lint, it's the scrape on your knee, it's the knock on the door, it's the no, it's the yes, it's the kid in the store. Look at all this, what a gift, what a gift. The world is a miracle. I wanna fall back in love with. This is a prayer. If you're there, if you're there, could I find more of this? Look at all this, what a gift, what a gift. The world is a miracle. I wanna fall back in love with. This is a prayer. If you're there, if you're there, could I find more of this?
burst through all slavery's chain, the free state began to find its name. Harriet Tubman built a secret lane to come on board this freedom train. Maryland, my Maryland, I'm coming back again. From the western mountains to the ocean city shore, Rockville to Baltimore, Maryland's my Maryland. Rachel Carson told of the silent spring, of the time when birds no longer sing. Restore the Chesapeake for me and you, and all the Orioles will come home too. Maryland, my Maryland, I'm coming back again. From the western mountains to the ocean city shore, Rockville to Baltimore, Maryland's my Maryland. The artist's dream, the writer's words will flow. We come back to the grave of Edgar Allan Poe. Our gardenia and the ham of Billie Holiday tells the promise of Maryland today. Maryland, my Maryland, I'm coming back again. From the western mountains to the ocean city shore, Rockville to Baltimore, Maryland's my Maryland. With a Catonsville, Easton, or Monocacy, we find the courage to make democracy.
St. Frederick Douglass's message to all the land.
If you want progress, come and make your demand. Maryland, my Maryland, I'm coming back again. From the western mountains to the ocean city shore, Rockville to Baltimore, Maryland's my Maryland.
Oh, say, can you see Elijah Cummings now? Never took his hand from the freedom plow.
And Justice Thurgood Marshall brought down Jim Crow.
So let the waters of righteousness flow.
Maryland, our Maryland, we're coming back again. From the western mountains to the ocean city shore, Rockville to Baltimore, Maryland, Maryland.
Moderator Candidate Forum. Please welcome the members of the Election Campaign Practices Committee, the Reverend Dr. Sarah Lenzi, the Reverend Carrie Holly Hurt, and the Reverend Dr. Oscar Sinclair. Please welcome the candidates for Moderator of the Unitarian Universalist Association, Natasha Walker, the Reverend Kimberly Quinn Johnson, and Bill Young.
Hello, everyone. I'm sure you're out there. I saw you before. I can't see you now. I'm Reverend Carrie Holly Hurt. I'm a white woman. I use she, her pronouns. I have blonde hair. I'm wearing a navy suit, and I have purple cat eye glasses. And it is so good to be with y'all today. I know there's a lot of great programming going on, so the fact that you're here is wonderful. And it's important, so thank you for being here. Before we start, we want to encourage you to just take a moment and let's do some self-care. Stretch a bit, maybe shake out if you can. Roll your shoulders. Maybe make your gaze a little bit softer. Loosen your jaw. Just give your body a second to shift or move as you need to feel comfortable and to settle into this space for this important conversation. So now, if you will all join us in taking a breath as deep and slow as you can. And let's take one more. We want to remind you that we are here to do the important work of discernment. We are here to do the business of the Unitarian Universalist Association, but that business is the ethical and forward-thinking decision-making that will shape our collective future. This forum, along with the previous two, is designed to help you discern how to cast your vote for the moderator of the UUA.
Hi all, I am Sarah Lindsay. I am a white woman in my 40s with dark curly hair that has a little bit of gray, and I've got green glasses. My pronouns are she, her. As we begin this forum, we wanted to take a moment to remind everyone about what the moderator or moderators do. First, the moderator is the chair of the Board of Trustees of the Unitarian Universalist Association. They work to set the agenda, they attend committee meetings, they work with the board as well as the staff of the UUA, including with the president. At General Assembly, the moderators moderate, but they also determine the validity of and support the development of responsive resolutions at GA. A reminder that responsive resolutions are essentially responses put forward by delegates in reaction to reports provided at GA. All of that is to say that while the work is the work of governance and administration in a way, it also carries a more subtle kind of work and authority, particularly in setting the tone and the agenda here at General Assembly and with the Board of Trustees throughout the year. As such, the job of moderator impacts the trajectory of Unitarian Universalism at large. If you want to make an analogy to congregational life, the moderator is something like the president of the board, a position that requires administrative and organizational skills, with a sprinkling of ministerial relationship building, those soft skills in there as well.
So I'm the Reverend Dr. Oscar Sinclair. My pronouns are he, him. I am a middle-aged, bald, not balding, man with a reddish-gray beard, black glasses, wearing a gray suit, and a navy pride tie. For this third and final forum, which we are so delighted to be hosting here in Baltimore, the home of my heart and the birthplace of Unitarianism, our format will be a roundtable. We have 3 broad topics, and we'll devote about 15 minutes to each one. And during that time, we, the moderators of this session, will ask you, the potential moderators, questions, reserving the right to ask follow-up questions, clarifying questions, but we'll do our best to actually let the 3 of you have a conversation.
Our first topic has to do with the relationship between the Unitarian Universalist Association and congregations on the ground. One of the hallmarks of Unitarian Universalism is our congregational polity, built on hundreds of years of congregationalism, grounded in the Cambridge platform. Congregational polity encompasses both our commitment to the independence and self-direction of individual congregations and our commitment to the mutual support and accountability that we promise to one another as communities covenanted through the UUA. We do not always strike perfectly the balance between the individuality of congregations and the call to support each other and keep each other accountable. So, how do you understand the role of the UUA and the moderator in particular in navigating this balance between independence and support for congregations?
Nobody ever knows how to start, so I will. So I am the Reverend Kimberly Quinn Johnson. I have brown skin and black and white hair, and I am wearing dark glasses and some flowery, peachy dress. One of the ways that I understand the role of the moderator and really the board in helping congregations to be in better relationship with each other is in the ways that the UUA is able to support congregations in having the tools and really the skills that they need to be able to connect with each other. Some of that is about resources. I think a lot of it is about skill building, and some of it also, I think, is about maybe logistics and help with infrastructure in terms of that connecting. Some areas of our country have a much better start than others in that kind of connection.
I'll add, so I'm Natasha Walker. I use she, her pronouns. Today I'm wearing purple with fish on my dress. And I am a golden beige color with curly hair pulled back. And I'd add to that, I think there's an element of UUA is kind of an umbrella organization and offers some standardization and best practices that congregations can leverage. And I think historically, we've had some identity where congregations wanted to identify themselves as being independent and overtly wanted to not kind of leverage what was offered as standardization. And I think there's probably some work we have there to make that value proposition clear. And again, I keep coming back to it's around being in community. And I think there's some work to do to also make congregations feel like this is a community that they want to be a part of and that the value proposition is there for them.
And I'm Bill Young. I use he, him pronouns. And I am gray-haired. I'm wearing a suit jacket and a blue and white checkered shirt. Add a couple of things. One thing I think that's very important is for the moderator role and others in governance is to listen and to find ways to listen to congregations. Understanding the range of needs, understanding the current issues is really important, and so listening's at the core of it. The other role, I think, beyond what was already mentioned, where the UUI I think can be particularly helpful is helping congregations connect to one another, in addition to the connection between the association and congregations.
Yeah, so that is, I want to come back to this point of sort of the current moment and listening to congregations and what's going on with them. All of us who participate in congregational life understand that there are some very big stressors right now in congregational life, financial, lack of ministers, staffing, there's all sorts of things going on. And I'm going to say particularly for our smaller congregations, there are some very real and very present challenges. How do you propose you in the moderator role would help to address those challenges? How would you get congregations to connect to one another and think less as competitors and more as teammates?
I think there's a big piece here around marketing, right? I think all of those challenges of congregations they're multifaceted and they're complex, and I don't mean to be dismissive of that, but there's a big piece here around bringing more people in, right? And I think we have decided not to be evangelists, and that has not always served us. And there are a lot of people in the world right now, specifically at this political moment, who are struggling and looking for something that would give some meaning and some community, and we are here, and they don't know that. And I think that that's some place that UUA could be really helpful.
One of the areas where I think that we all need to be aware is we have a lot of small congregations in our association. It's a very large number. For that reason, I think that having some specific approaches, strategies, and supports oriented toward smaller congregations and what they need is important. I'm a member of a small congregation. We are about 75 members. We have a half-time minister, and we are always looking for the best ways to do things internally and in our communities. So don't mean to imply that we don't do some of that now, because I think we do. But I do think the association, given the large number of small congregations as part of the association, that's really important. And the other thing I would add is I think technology is changing that scene, and has changed that scene a little bit as well. So how one is as a small congregation now compared to what that might have meant 2 or 3 decades ago, I think may be a very different thing as well.
And the UUA is in a good place to help congregations have the actual practical things that they need around technology. Some of it, so for example, I think it's true, this might be through the UUMA, right? But that congregations are able to have access to Zoom accounts. That's a very practical, technical way that the UUA is able to help a small congregation. I'm also not a member, I'm a minister of a small congregation. I'm 3/4 time. One of the things that has been most stressful for my congregation is figuring out things like compensation. What is fair? How do we determine what's fair? And then just really technically, how do we make sure that our minister has insurance? How do we make sure that our minister has retirement? This is a key area where the UUA is able to help small congregations in a very concrete way.
Yes, and there are small congregations that can't even support a minister, right? And so reaching those 15-person, 30-person fellowships, we were talking about one earlier, the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Clarksville, Tennessee, which has 33 members, right? What are the ways, what can the UUA mean to those congregations, right? Those small pockets doing good work, but feeling maybe a bit at sea or alone?
Well, I think the first thing, right, is it is an access to larger communities, right? We've got affinity groups, we've got groups around different interest areas that can connect you with, well, how can I do social justice if it's just 2 people? How can I train myself on how to do protests safely? There is a lot of training and curriculum for that. And I think to your point of access to resources, there's a lot of things that UUA is producing that I think everybody could leverage and maybe are not aware is there for them.
Yeah.
One other point about that, I think, for me, is that lay leadership development, I think, is very important for a variety of reasons across the association right now. It is admittedly a gap and needs attention. I think for small congregations that have no professional religious leadership or other staff of any kind, particular kinds of lay leadership supports and development are extremely important.
And so I just want to really add one thing, because I think it has a lot of promise. And one of the reasons that I'm so excited about these WAVE cohorts is that there are people in congregations who are coming up with creative and innovative ways of how to do church. Maybe you don't want to call it church where you are. How to do gathering, how to do worship, how to be multi-generational. You don't actually need staff for that. And it is helpful to have ideas from all around the country of what is working well to be able to do that.
Great. I think the sort of last question in this topic area, as congregations shrink and their budgets shrink, the amount of money that congregations can provide to the UUA shrinks. And so what do you, over the next 6 years, sort of how does it look? Well, what does a potentially contracted UUA look like? What does that do for the provision of resources that we're talking about right now and those connections and that building?
I mean, I think the most obvious one, right, is in-person gatherings like this are very, very expensive. They're also very energizing, and it builds some of those community bonds. And so I think figuring out the balance of those and thinking about being very intentional with what those in-person touch points are, and maybe it's more of a regional model or less often, but thinking about balancing costs against kind of the benefit to that. And then I think it's around getting versatile with these kinds of things. So whereas I think we've thought about things to be serving a purpose, I think we need to think about things as doing more than one thing and getting much more modular. And I know there's been some talks around, rejiggering how GA is set up, but also like our regional gatherings, do those look different? Do those integrate some of a recruiting piece as well as a education piece, as well as a social justice piece? And like, how do you think about adding all of those together rather than having those as separate entities or separate events? But I think there's just I think all of us, I think every congregation, I think all of us as individuals are being asked to do more with less. And I think that requires us being creative in a way that we haven't in the past. And I think in my perspective, everything's on the table. I think this is rather than looking at this as a moment of crisis, I think it's really an opportunity to think differently, to have some imagination, and come up with what we think will be effective as we go into the future, and rather than be thinking about kind of what we were doing 10 years ago.
I mean, I think, I think also realistically, it means that we may actually have less paid staff to rely on, which is all the more reason why it is important that we are cultivating lay leadership to do some of these things, and also thinking more effectively about how we are prioritizing so that we are using well the resources that we have. We will not be able to do all of the things. What are the things that we are good at, that we can do, that can have impact? Lean into those.
And I think that one of the ways which has already started that's really important in this environment is to take a multi-year view rather than with the association and congregations too, rather than being solely looking at single-year budgets. That it's really crucial to take a multi-year view of expenses, of income, and of investments that you want to make for the future, but doing it on a single standalone year in a changing environment doesn't work well.
I just wanted to add to the prioritization piece because I totally agree. I also think that we need to be more thoughtful about doing what we are uniquely positioned to do. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of partners who are already engaging in things that we are already believing in and in agreement with, and we should be doing more partnerships with them rather than competing, right? There's so much opportunity to grab organizers and community people and move forward so that we can kind of add resources and people, and then we're not operating with just those two people doing a social justice group. And I think we could do better at prioritizing and really discerning what is it that we are uniquely positioned to do and focusing on those.
And like you said, partnering. Yeah.
And if I could add one more thing, because this is a really important set of topics, I think, and this isn't always easy, it's often not easy, is to look clearly at what you are doing and decide, is that something you want to be doing now? It's sometimes often hard to let go, but sometimes you need to let go.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
So in the bylaws of the UUA, the moderator is the chief governance officer of the UUA. So our second topic is governance. And let me preface this by saying that power is a very real thing that religious leaders grapple with, right? There's defined power in our roles. So the moderator has significant authority to set the course for what responsive resolutions end up on the General Assembly agenda, how the agenda of board meetings happens, what order amendments are considered. And there's also the relational power in the role, in any role like moderator, minister, board member, the power that happens when, in a tough moment, everybody in the room turns, looks at you, and says, okay, now what? So, first question, what is your theology of power? Asked a different way, maybe, how do you understand your own relationship to power and authority grounded in your Unitarian Universalist values?
I actually do have a theology of power.
I'm not surprised.
Because I actually get it from Martin Luther King Jr., who said something along the lines of, power without love is abusive, and love without power is, it's something like weak or maudlin or something along those lines. Anemic, yes, thank you. So, yeah. I totally missed the second half of your question because I was so excited that I actually do have a theology of power.
So how does that King quote then inform how you would approach the moderator role?
Yes, okay. So I think what that means in that particular role, right, is power in that space when it is formal, I think is a lot of listening. It is a lot of drawing forth other opinions, drawing forth perspectives, making space for opinions, even those that are potentially contrary to mine, helping us find ways to pull those ideas together. So formal power, for me, is a lot of taking a half step back and drawing other people into space to have communication with each other. That's a start, I think.
I don't know that I have a theology of power, I will say. That was a big one. I'm just reflecting. I think a lot of my relationship to power has been shaped by, I think for all of us, how you were brought up. I was raised in a household that was very much based around consensus and discussion, and so even when I was a small child, like everything was kind of up for grabs, and everyone was open to ask why, and so I'm very comfortable in a space where, like, if you're like, I hate what you're doing, like, let's talk about that. I don't take offense, and like, I love to be in discussion about that. I think it's also shaped by how I feel like as a Black woman, I am allowed to wield power, and that is not in an authoritarian way. It is not in a forceful way. It is not in an assertive way, honestly. And so my style has evolved to match that, to the spaces that I have been walking in. That being said, I think it is very helpful to have role clarity, because I think the big piece that I observe is people's tentative relation to power is based on feeling like I'm gonna step on toes, I'm not sure who owns this, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do this. And I think it's much more often if you just step into it and own that, people recognize that, will respect that, and kind of can orient to that relationship. And so I think it's just much more helpful to be clear of who owns what, and how are you going about the decision making, who are you engaging, where are you driving for consensus, and where are you deciding, I think can be really helpful to just be clear.
Yeah, I would completely agree with Natasha about that, about clarity. And I think it's clarity about roles. Sometimes it's clarity about processes. It's clarity about expectations. And the other thing about power I was going to mention, I think, a lot of what we do in groups. We do some things individually, of course, but a lot of what we do in groups. And I think for the moderator, tone setting in group contexts is really important and can make a lot of difference, because the wrong tone setting or incomplete tone setting, even if you have the stuff that Natasha mentioned, I think is problematic. So I mention that because I think that is power, because oftentimes you're the one who is, or the individuals who are driving that the most.
I'll add one more thing too. I just think in terms of wielding power, I think it builds a lot of credibility when you can own the fact that you don't know. And I think we are sometimes afraid to just own that. And just being upfront around, like, this is not my expert area. Here's where I'm pulling other people in to advise. Because I think that's one of the pieces is people give you the benefit of the doubt when they understand that you're trying and that you have been really clear on this is the stuff that I own, this is the stuff I don't know about and I need help with. So just wanted to list that as well.
So moving from a question that begins with theology, but into a more practical question. The moderator chairs the Board of Trustees, but for folks attending their first GA, or for any of us that needs a quick governance refresher, say you're in the hallway here and somebody comes up to you and says, "What does the board of the UUA do?" What is your 30-second in the hallway of General Assembly answer?
Snacks.
Snacks?
No, yeah, I think the board is responsible for taking all of the commitments and wishes and hopes for the faith and action, and putting those to action is my opinion of what the board is responsible for. There's a lot of practicalities that they own, financial solvency, legal risk. There's a lot of administrative stuff. I mean, it's not a small bit of work, but I think that's how I term what they own.
Yeah, I'll add to that as the Board of Trustees, the board has the fiduciary responsibility for the association. I mean, that's a core responsibility of the board. In addition to that, I think that we're not talking about it in detail here, but there are a lot of groups and committees that are creatures of the board. And so the direction setting and oversight of all those component parts as well. Finally, I'll mention a key area for the board and for the moderators is solid coordination and communication and all those things with the administration and with the staff that do all of the day in, day out work.
And because I'm based in a congregation, I am almost always giving a congregational analogy. And I would ask people to consider, if you are in a congregation, the board of your own congregation, right? They are helping to recruit volunteers to do all of the small day-to-day, week-to-week things that keep your organization moving. They also are the ones who are handling crises, emergencies as they come up. And they're the ones that are keeping sure that we are moving in alignment with our vision and mission.
So following on this hypothetical conversation, what's the relationship between the board and these leaders that we see on the UUA website? What's the difference between the board and the staff?
Is that a new question?
Sure. Well, the board, first, the board are volunteers, and they're elected. The staff are employees of the association, and the staff has the responsibility in various areas of doing all the tasks that are in support of congregations and communities, and all the work which is more outward facing in the broader world.
I would say that the staff they provide continuity and stability, right? So they know the ins and outs of how we did this before, what is the precedent, what is the legal statute, like what do we need, what are the bounds with which we have to stay within? And I think the board is intended to roll over and bring an infusion of both the representation of a perspective from congregations, but also just innovative approaches and different like life experience that would help to kind of frame not only long-term what we're trying to do, but the way that we're getting there.
One last big governance question. The bylaws, the UUA bylaws. There's a major revision coming up. We've already started it with Article 2. We're talking about doing the next steps in waves. How would you think about managing that process? Now, there are specific roles for the moderator in bylaws revisions that are laid out in the bylaws and rules. But what's your vision for how we get from where we are right now to hopefully having a substantially rewritten set of bylaws 5 or 6 years from now?
I personally like the approach to, as much as I've seen it, that they're taking. I think, I mean, this is not the popular view, but I think bylaws should be always in review. It's one of those things that takes so long that by the time it's like painting the Golden Gate Bridge. When you start, by the time you get to the end, you have to start over. And I think the nature of our faith tradition is supposed to be that we're always in flux and always moving and evolving. And I think the bylaws is one of those indicators. I think if we were doing it on a more regular basis, it wouldn't feel so cataclysmic in terms of moving and make so much angst if it was a constant conversation.
I mean, I quite like the approach that they have already. It is intended to draw in opinions from people around the country, right? So it's not a small group of people deciding how they think things can run. What I think is useful about that kind of drawing in opinions is that it engages people in not just the life of the faith, but in really thinking about who we say we are, who we want to be, what are the ways that we are able to move in that direction, to live into who we say we want to be.
Yeah, and I think that the bylaws and rules that we have now are big and messy and detailed. And as we approach this over a number of years in waves, I think it's going to be important to figure out the best ways for ongoing communication so people do feel that there are good ways to participate. I also think, since there is so much detail, to figure out what are the pieces that really are the most important and really benefit the most from input, because I think that there's a lot of procedural detail in what we've got now that probably is not going to be the best place to spend our collective time. There also are some important foundational questions that will be in each one of those waves, and I think we've got to figure out how to engage people in those things that are the most important.
What are some of those big questions?
How leadership of the association is structured would be one example. How we view membership in the association now. Those would be two big examples, I think.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now it's my turn, last category. So we're going to talk about the direction of Unitarian Universalism and legacy. One of my Roman empires is a statement by James Luther Adams. Apparently, he had this ongoing question, which was, does our liberal theology have enough sustenance to defeat fascism? If ever there were a time to answer that question, it would be now. So your role as a moderator will mean that you will play a significant role in shaping the future of Unitarian Universalism. And how you do your work will be a part of how we answer that question. So my first question is, if you were to be asked that question, do we have what it takes? What would you say, and what would be your evidence?
Do we have what it takes to defeat fascism? And what would be my evidence?
Just a little question.
So, gosh, okay. Almost always, my answer to the question of do we have what it takes is going to be yes. And so my evidence, I think, I am going way back to the annals of Unitarianism and Universalism, right? We were abolitionists. Not all of us were at the beginning, and we all got there. We were civil rights leaders. Obviously not all at the beginning. Some never actually got there. But so throughout the history of this country, we have been the people who stood on the side, were on the side, lived and fought on the side of justice and equity and rights and inclusion and expansiveness. That is who we are. That is how I found this faith. Absolutely, we have what it takes. That, for me, is the evidence that I'm going to tell somebody of how I know we can do this. I know we can do this.
I'm trying not to do a simplistic answer, but I do think that we have what it takes. I think where I hesitate is it was never envisioned that we would be facing fascism and housing crisis and immigration and survival, right? Like, I think we're just being deluged with terribleness. And I think it calls us to really discern what is the high priority. And it may not be, maybe it's not a priority, but it's a sequencing around how to make that effective. And I think that's some of the struggle that we're having, is that we're trying to throw a fire hose at everything, and then nothing's really kind of abating. And I think we have to be more targeted and strategic around what do we do first, and how does that domino hit the next one? Because we can't at the same time take on all of the US government and save small congregations. And, like, it's immense. And I think we have to just be more thoughtful about this is the stuff we can take on, recognizing that there's going to be things that are going to hurt our heart that we have to put down for the moment.
I think that Unitarian Universalism has a really important place now. In a way I haven't seen in my time as a UU. It's different, I think. And I think that that can happen in a number of ways. I like to be hopeful. One way is at the association level, and we've seen some of that happen already. And I think we need to see more of it. We don't even know all the more of it will be yet, but I do think we will see more of it. The other area that I want to mention is, we have more than 1,000 congregations. That's 1,000 places across the country. And one of the things that we can do is provide the support, the tools, the inspiration to some degree for all of those UU places, because what they might deal with locally is going to vary. It's not going to be the same thing in every single place, but it can be an important part of the overall fight against fascism. And whether a congregation has 40 people or 400 people, they have a place on the ground, they have a place in their communities, and they can make a difference.
Thank you. Thank you. So, what's going to be your focus as you are the moderator and you have this 6 years as part of shaping the future of our religion? What's going to be your focus?
I've been saying I have an anti-agenda, because I don't really intend or think it appropriate to steer the agenda of the board. And that might be controversial, but that's how I feel. I think my role as a moderator is supposed to be around helping support the how. I think the board contains some very passionate, very smart people who are doing all of the right things and laboring with some antiquated systems and processes that makes it difficult for them to turn things around quickly, to engage in the level of discussion that would be helpful, to driving to decisions around really meaty and meaningful topics. And so again, I don't think I'm trying to drive like what the agenda or what the prioritization is. What I would like to provide is the framework by which that's done, the rubric that is drives some transparency and clarity for people that would help to move things quicker and be more effective.
I do think, though, that we have some choices about where we put our attention and our resources. My experience tells me that investing in lay leadership, investing in youth and young adults is going to move us in a new place.
I don't really have an agenda either, but if I were to look back 6 years from now, I would hope that I would have been able to support well the leaders we have and provide the leaders that we have, whether on the board or on our committees or in other places, that help provide the tools, the environment, the soft supports, all the things that they need to do the work, because the moderator will not do most of the work. The moderator can support the work getting done. So that's something I would like to see. I also think that it's a period of time when we're going to be thinking hard about what we want our association to be. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now. Because a lot of transformations are happening in lots of different levels. Won't go into them right now. But I think we're at a point in time where taking that longer view of what's our association going to look like and what's our membership going to look like in the decade or two from now.
Thank you. And that actually gets to my next question, which you can elaborate on as well, but I would like to ask you all, which is, what do you want your legacy to be? When your term as moderator is finished, what do you hope folks look back on and remember you for?
So I have thought about this. I have been hearing a lot of questioning out loud if we even have a future as Unitarian Universalism and Unitarian Universalist. I would love if 6 years from now, that is not a question, if 6 years from now, people believe full-heartedly that there is a future for Unitarian Universalism because they are out in the world, in their communities, living our values, and they see the difference that it is making in their communities and this country. That would be it.
I would love to see us in active discourse around tough topics without all of the emotional harm that I think we do now. I think we just need to practice, honestly. I think we need to do it more and it will get easier. And I would love, I mean, this is kind of funny, but I would love to have like a 20-year-old right now who comes to me in 6 years and tells me all the things that I'm doing that's antiquated and that they have ideas to improve. I think that would be a good sign.
Yeah. May I? Sure, go ahead.
Did Bill have a...
Sorry, Bill, did you want to?
Yeah, one more thing. 6 years from now, I would like for us to think and agree that we've spent some time developing some pretty robust leadership capacities in our congregations, among our lay leaders, with our religious professionals, and that we have done that in a way that also addresses what we have going on, which is some generational changes that are needed. And I think that this period of time will be one where some of that can happen.
Mindful that this is a volunteer position, potentially a lot of work, with gratitude from the people. What do you hope you will learn? How do you hope you will grow? What do you hope you will gain out of 6 years in this role?
I think we just touched on it, right? Like feeling like this is a pivotal time for our faith tradition and wanting to be part of that solution is my hope. I find it really gratifying to learn from other people and to solve big problems. And this is one that I think hasn't been done before, which from my perspective is a challenge that I find really interesting. And the fact that it actually has some real world impact is just a bonus. I do think it's doable, and I think it's exciting.
Well, mine is not so much a growth. It is indirectly. One of the things that I would be most excited for is hearing from, talking with UUs around the country about how they practice Unitarian Universalism where they are. I get very excited when I hear how people are doing it. I literally take notes. And I think when we start to share those ideas more, get more excited about it, it just enlivens this faith. I do call it a faith. It feels like a faith to me. Yeah. I'm excited for us to live our faith in the world and share it with each other.
One of the things I'm hoping for is to experience and learn more about the component parts of our UU world, some pieces I don't know well. There are some pieces that I've experienced a lot and some pieces I haven't. And I'm sort of looking forward to being able to get more connected to some of the pieces that just haven't more naturally come my way over time.
So I think a couple of you have used words like listen and learn and connect. And I'm curious, as one more question, how? So in board terms, we talk about linkage being a really important thing that a board does. Linkage is what connects the board to the people that they serve. So what does that listening actually look like in very practical terms? If you're listening to the congregations in the UUA, what does that look like on a Tuesday afternoon 18 months from now?
What it might look like is a Tuesday evening when people are home from work doing a forum to talk about how they're doing Unitarian Universalism where they are. What it might look like is on a Sunday that I'm not preaching, worshiping via Zoom at somebody else's congregation to learn what they're doing and then maybe talking with them afterwards, something like that.
I think it's also endeavoring to go out, right? I think getting out of your sphere, to your point, Bill, where the places that you naturally gravitate to, you have to make an intention to go elsewhere. And I know it used to be part of the job to actually visit different congregations over the course of the term. And I think that's something we could prioritize as well. And maybe it's more of a virtual space, but I think there is more of that, just being intentional about that connection and prioritizing that.
I think what they said, and in addition to that, one of the ways I find most helpful is listening to people who are connected to one another, who are working on things, rather than just hearing from individuals, but rather to sometimes be the fly on the wall and listen to what people are trying to work out. Listen to their work
And also, I mean, I know people will know how to find us, and so they will tell us what they want us to know.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. I think it's y'all's turn now.
All right. So before the forum, we said that we would assign who goes first with closing statements by a coin toss, and then we had a brief sidebar as we realized that none of us carry cash. But we did eventually find a quarter, so we have flipped a coin. And Natasha, you're first. So in no more than 2 minutes, could you please let folks know why they should vote for you?
Sure. Friends, thank you for the gift of your time and discernment. I'm Natasha Walker, and I'm running for moderator of the UUA because I believe that spiritual leadership must be grounded in strategic leadership. Our values call us to justice and inclusion, and our structures must be strong enough to carry those values forward with integrity. As someone with a long career in operational management and organizational consulting, I've worked with complex institutions to clarify vision, streamline governance, and bring alignment between mission and action. I understand how systems function, and more importantly, how they evolve when guided by transparency, accountability, and care. Our association is facing critical questions. How do we grow sustainably? How do we deepen trust across congregations? How do we invest wisely in innovation without losing touch with our roots? These aren't just spiritual questions, they are organizational ones. As moderator, I will bring a disciplined, outcomes-oriented mindset to our shared work. I will listen actively, act thoughtfully, and help ensure that our approach to governance is not only principled, but also operationally sound, fiscally responsible, and ready to serve all our congregations effectively. I've helped large systems navigate change, I've mediated conflict, built consensus, and delivered results, all while keeping people at the center. That's the leadership that I offer you today. If you choose me as your moderator, I will bring my full self, my faith, my skills, and my commitment to serve this movement we all cherish. As we meet the moment together, we can lean into more resilience, more inclusivity, and more accountability. Thank you for your trust and for all you do to sustain our living tradition. I humbly ask for your vote.
We hope that you will vote for us because we love Unitarian Universalism and we believe in our future. You can go to our website and find out all about our experience. We want to share with you the commitments that we would make. I have 3 of them. One of them is to be in regular and honest and communicative partnership with Bill. We understand what it means to do real partnership and to model that for people in our congregations. The second one would be to always center our mission and our vision. Our mission is about equipping congregations, equipping lay leaders to live our values in the world. That is what I would do. And then my third commitment, because people ask me all the time, though you haven't today, about self-care. My third commitment really is to care for myself so that I am able to show up fully.
And if elected, this is what I would commit to. First, something we've already said, is to listen carefully and to keep reminding myself to listen carefully. To continuously find ways to support and encourage those doing UU work within the association and in our congregations and communities. And finally, to partner with Kimberly, drawing on each of our knowledge, experience, and capacities, and also modeling collaborative leadership, which can be useful in so many settings.
Thank you all for your thoughtful answers today at this forum and the other forums. If you'd like to watch those other forums, they are online, they were recorded, and I recommend you do. And thank you all for being here and for your attention and your consideration of this very important topic.
While we have the floor, the ECPC wants to encourage you to take the election for moderator very seriously It's a role of great importance, and this is indeed the first contested election for this role in quite some time. This role matters. They help set the course of our shared faith. So please take it seriously, cast your votes, and thank you again.